My name is Ankur Shrivastava, and I'm the CEO and founder of Flywheel. And it is my privilege today to introduce to you the full vision of why Flywheel exists. You see, a year ago, when we got started with this journey, we couldn't have imagined that we'd achieve this opportunity so fast. But before we get started, I want to start with a moment of gratitude. Gratitude to all the buyers that have stood next to us in this journey in the last year. Gratitude to all the sellers who have shared their problems and the opportunities that exist for us to make cloud marketplaces amazing. Gratitude to the hyperscalers who allow us to connect to their systems every day and understand the problems that they're trying to solve and accelerate their journey. And of course, last but not least, gratitude to all the Flywheelians that joined me on this journey to solve a massive problem. Today, you'll get to hear from an amazing set of product leaders, engineers, and of course, our investors. You will literally get to see how Flywheel is changing the future and ushering in a new era of cloud marketplaces that is focused on the buyer sentiment. And the key thing to note is we're building the future with literally the future. You see, during the course of my 5 years at AWS Marketplace, I got to operate and see the awesomeness of a cloud marketplace. Once I understood the power of cloud marketplaces, when you put a buyer at the centerpiece of it, it became a game changer. So ultimately, when we started looking at cloud marketplaces, we realized there were some inefficiencies that existed, and that really didn't create a rich buyer experiences. We became maniacally focused at the interconnection for the buyers and the sellers, and we realized there were various stages where we had an opportunity to innovate. We realized that first, discovery was broken. That's where we realized that the ability for buyers to discover sellers was an opportunity for optimization. We also realized that pilots and demos could be made better. Now, cloud marketplaces did nail this, where you can go in today and rapidly launch a demo and a pilot in a secure environment. But once that decision was made, we realized that there were efficiencies in the dead zone that we can optimize for. What is the dead zone? Well, that's where deals go to die. InfoSec, legal, procurement, deployment, and ultimately renewals. And we became maniacally obsessed with creating a better experience, but we made sure that we made the buyer successful first. And that allows us to run into three macro trends that we observed. First one, we realized that there was an ample amount of cloud commitments that were continuously underutilized and were scrutinized. We also realized that buyers were plagued with disconnected systems and also teams that weren't collaborating on these commitments that were being made. And then, of course, the data issue that existed. There was a lot of bad data in the existing procurement systems, but also in the cloud marketplaces. And to try and get that data to match and talk to each other were areas of opportunities as well that existed. Now, what were the efficiencies that we identified? Well, we realized that in order for you to call yourself a cloud marketplace, you had to have 6 principles. We observed this across thousands of transactions during my time at AWS, but also while engaging with our buyers during the design process. And here are the 6 principles that we adhered to that we realized could truly allow you to now be called a marketplace. And let me share what those are. First, listing. We realized that there are plenty of marketplaces that allow you to list. Transaction. There are only 3 cloud marketplaces that allow you to transact dollars seamlessly. You all know who those are: AWS, GCP, and Azure. Data. That became an opportunity. We realize today the cross-pollination of data that is so essential to making decisions or also to realize savings wasn't readily available if you were a seller or a buyer. We also realized that integration was an issue. We realized that buyers today had various enterprise systems that couldn't rip and replace and needed connectedness in order for them to make this marketplace journey efficient. We also realized reconciliation was an opportunity. That means taking all this spend, put it out in the cloud, weren't able to bring it back into their enterprise systems and be able to do chargeback and cost center allocation. The spend sat unreconciled and effectively was a limiting factor for buyers to pursue more marketplace transactions. And of course, the biggest one is governance. How do you make sure that these transactions that are taking place are governed and meet the compliance and requirements that are set forth by your finance teams or your procurement teams? These 6 principles became the ethos of how we approach our soiree into building a buyer-first standard. Oh, and we also realized that we had to support it with a data set that made sure that your transactions were foolproof continuously. This is why we introduced FUID. To talk about it, I want to actually introduce you to Sneh Ganju, who's one of our lead product managers, and she'll join me on stage. Sneh, come on over. Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining me. I'm going to give you this.
Thank you.
So Flywheel is fixing the data problem. One of the biggest issues that exist is there's a lot of effed up data that is out there. And when we started reviewing this data set, we realized that there was one set of data that existed from the buyer perspective, which is procurement. There was one other set of bad data that existed in, let's say, the marketplaces. And when we were trying to create these matches, we ran into a lot of chaos. Talk to me a little bit about why FUID became such a centerpiece.
100%. So let me just take a step back and talk a little bit about where we are today. We are in the age of AI. And you know what the biggest problem with AI is? Bad data. The biggest motivation for us in terms of cleaning up this data and giving the users something beautiful and seamless.
Well, why don't you take the center stage and tell us more about it?
Thank you, Ankur. When I come to the buyer side of things, there's this pain point around buying a product. I, as a buyer, would probably look for a product and search it up in a marketplace or probably just talk to somebody in my procurement team. Now, you know what the biggest problem with that is? It's listed differently across different marketplaces. There's no coherence in that data. So my search and discovery is essentially effed up. Now, this pain doesn't just exist with the buyer, but also with the seller. Sellers sell on different marketplaces and have no way to reconcile all of this data. They have SKUs that are duplicates. Everything is bad and broken. Hence, it's completely data pandemonium. Now, we at Flywheel essentially ask this question, why? Why is it that this problem exists? When you look at physical commodities, they've solved this problem decades ago. You have GTINs, you have UPCs, you have EANs. Yet nobody has solved this problem for software. The identity of software is essentially lost. I spoke about AI earlier. We today live in the age of AI. We've solved all problems with automation, but we've failed to deliver a solution for software and search. While I talk about this, and before I actually introduce the solution to you, I want to take you through a problem that we faced when we were working with buyers and sellers. So this was a simple example, and this was exactly what happened. We had a buyer looking for something which was Red Hat, and it was Red Hat OpenShift. Now, we wanted to see that, where exactly is this sold? What's the name of the product? The product was listed completely different in different permutations, had number of evil twins across marketplaces. And we weren't able to figure out that which is the exact product that they were trying to procure. That is the problem that we were trying to solve. What was our answer to this? Well, at Flywheel, we truly believe in manifest and act. And with that, I want to introduce to you the Flywheel Universal ID, or the FUID. One ID to rule them all, one ID to find them, one ID to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Our team loves to deal with every problem and lead with design thinking and usability. And today I want to show you what the FUID looks like. It's beautiful, almost poetic. Let me walk you through it. It's a 19-character ID. Now, the first 4 characters are your identity as a vendor. The next 6, your identity as your product. And it takes care of all the permutations. And the last one, we did not forget the variations. So you have 4 digits to play around in terms of your variations. And while I've said all of that, there's still a chance that you might mess up while you're typing in this ID. And we have a checksum right at the end to make sure there are no errors in any system that creep in. This ID is essentially beautiful. Why? Because it's readable. So any human can essentially read this ID and just search it up in any marketplace. It's immutable. What does that mean? It means that once you've assigned an ID to your product, you can use it like a spine across all your marketplaces. So there are no bad permutations and combinations existing for you to just look, do manual reconciliation. And finally, the third part, software exists today and there are multiple permutations to it. So while you have those multiple permutations, we wanted to support that and make sure it's scalable. And so FURLD does that too. Now you might question why now and why today? And I'll tell you why. Buyers for long have faced this problem of search and discovery, and FUID solves that. It helps them search the exact product and procure it. For sellers, they sell on multiple channels. We wanted to solve that problem as well. And you have one identifier for your product across all marketplaces, and it makes sure that you can reconcile it with finance. And most important, when we talk about FinOps, the FUID is at the center of the foundational principles of FinOps, which is inform, optimize, and operate. With that, I give you FUID. So sellers, sign up on www.flywheel.com/FUID to get your FUIDs today. I'd like to call upon Ankur on the stage again to take us through the rest of the session and this jam-packed agenda that we have. Thank you.
Great job. Absolutely great job.
Thank you,
And I
Ankur.
can't wait to see this thing evolve even more so. Appreciate it, Sneh. So you just heard about FUID, and FUID now becomes a governing feature on how we make sure these transactions are precise, but also your data is reconciled. And it becomes a foundation for what I'm really excited to announce, Compass 2.0. Now, Compass has existed for a year. It is our flagship product that we launched at re:Invent last year. And since then, we had the privilege of partnering with buyers to really evolve this product to the release that we're excited to announce today. And what is Compass? Well, it is a command center for cloud procurement built for buyers. And by the way, we built it with buyers. To talk about Compass and why it needed to exist, please allow me to introduce Prajwal, one of our product leaders that built and focused on Compass himself. Prajwal, come on out. How are you, buddy?
I am doing great and super excited to talk about Compass.
We're super excited to hear about it. And Prajwal, by the way, talks about Compass so much that I think he may also talk in his sleep about Compass.
Yeah.
Is that happening?
Yeah, it's happening a lot these days.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we talk a little bit about why Compass needed to exist, let's talk about the market opportunity that has been called out. Today, Gartner itself predicts that almost $1.3 trillion will be spent on cloud, right? That's a Gartner stat. The second stat is, which is astonishing, 30 to 35% of cloud enterprise commitments go wasted annually. That's a big number. And we realize that businesses or like finance leaders and procurement leaders aren't able to reconcile transactions within their systems fast enough. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it may take months. And buyers continue to lack visibility into the spend. This is all inputs that we collected from the analysts as well as the buyers that allowed us to really think about what is the value chain that we want to bring to the buyers from a Compass perspective. And by introducing Compass, our initial results saw that we can actually increase their value by 20% and cut transaction time by 30 to 40%. It became the center of innovation for us. And we obviously had to create incentives that could allow buyers to benefit from cash rebates, not credits. So Prajwal, talk a little about this journey.
Yeah, sure. So the challenges that you mentioned, those are absolutely true. One thing that we wanted to look out for was what do buyers really want? And it's clear, right? Buyers want saving. And it's savings in terms of cost as well as in terms of time. There are a few hurdles that they face during this. One of them being that the inventory data itself is manually maintained in the procurement systems. It's inputted manually. It's prone to errors. Sometimes it's not maintained properly. The second aspect of it is enterprise commitment. So enterprise commitment information is sitting outside in their VPAs and ADPs contracts. Most of the times, buyer organization, the teams don't have visibility into enterprise commitment information. They don't know how much drawdown do they have, and it's all very disconnected right now. And even if you actually overcome all these hurdles, transacting through marketplace especially is very complex. It's not something that our buyers are very used to. So it will take some couple of weeks for an analyst to actually go through all of it and figure out what are the savings opportunities that are available for them. But that's where Compass steps in, and Compass does it on the fly.
Yeah, and that's a very important piece that you just talked about. When we were building this, we found that procurement leaders were trying to mimic this behavior, but were doing it through spreadsheets. And they couldn't keep up with the velocity of the sellers that were being onboarded and essentially do the matching. So there were analysts dedicated to solving this problem. So that's a very good observation. So talk about how did we come up with steps to essentially provide clarity, if you would, to this journey?
Absolutely. So the first step is very clear. We just talked about it. First step is to actually connect the data. So your enterprise commitment information from your cloud providers, as well as your inventory information from like prominent procurement services like Coupa, ServiceNow, etc. You can connect that to Compass. Once that connection is there, we basically take that data and we actually perform our flagship algorithms for recommendation on top of that. We basically figure out what are the opportunities for savings that are available for you as a buyer. We surface those opportunities for you. You can choose to act on them, or you can model them by yourself as well. That's an option we provide.
Can I add one thing on that? When you say, we're adding the recommendation piece on that, you're effectively saying that's available for you to realize savings right away in the marketplace, but also maybe realize it back to your enterprise commits as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of the points that is there in our spend modeling. So basically, we help our buyers to identify different savings opportunities by utilizing their drawdown. Our spend modeling module that we have is actually capable of helping our buyers both in overage or shortfall scenarios. That's where it actually steps in and helps a lot in realizing their savings. Once you identify those opportunities, the next step is basically to transact. This is very tricky part. We have created a very simple, very easy purchase flow for our buyers to actually transact through us. It's basically a flow for them to request private offers through Flywheel. We call it FPO, not a private offer, a Flywheel private offer. I know you are super excited to talk about it, so I'll let you go.
I am super excited to talk about Flywheel private offers. We didn't just add a Flywheel in front of private offers, we reimagined private offers entirely. And the product team did a great job of diving deep into the 3 types of private offers that you have to transact with today, which is on Azure, GCP, and AWS. And they're effectively a different experience. We realized on Flywheel, we can unify that private offer experience to be a single state. So we called it a Flywheel private offer. And effectively, you can transact 4 ways right now: AWS, GCP, Azure, or direct. And you can do FPOs directly. And the way you guys have reimagined that is really making the buyer journey simple. They extrapolated as many of the clicks you may incur each one of the hyperscalers and condensed it down to a unified experience, which now allows us to build a standard to build upon even further. So great job on that.
Exactly. And FPO is not just that, right? FPO is basically your standard marketplace offer on steroids. So on top of your standard marketplace offer, we actually provide a bunch of cost saving methods, the incentives, as well as the savings opportunities. And there are 3 types of savings opportunities that we actually provide. One of them is basically utilizing your unused enterprise commitments or your drawdown. Second one is Flywheel Credit, which is our flagship cashback program, where we actually provide cash back to our customers basically for transacting through Flywheel. And the third one is basically the incentives that are from the seller or marketplace like MPOPs. So all of that combined becomes a FPO or a Flywheel private offer. Once all of this done, last step is basically to reconcile all of this, which is a very crucial step where we actually reconcile all these transactions back to their FP&A system, as well as the Flywheel credits that we just talked about. It also gets reconciled back to their systems.
Yeah, let me talk about this, right? So savings is big. Cashback has never existed in the corporate environments. And one of the crazy things about that is when we started giving cash back to the buyers, they didn't know how to take it back. And we broke some FP&A process in return. But it's interesting because those companies actually work with us to define how they can ingest credit backs. And that allowed us to now create a deeper feature with the whole cashback rebate process. Now, the way we reconcile today into FP&A, you could do cost center allocation, right? You guys have also thought about how to build out the AWS IDs into the console, and buyers can leverage that. You are able to do chargeback, and for the first time ever, credit back to a cost center. Why is that powerful? Well, because everybody's talking about savings, and today those savings are quantified in the form of a spreadsheet or a presentation. But how about we give you hard dollars back, right? Okay. Pretty big stuff. Talk a little bit more about the next one. Yeah.
So let's talk about what the actual impact is, let's say for finance or procurement folks. If you're like a finance leader or a FinOps practitioner, what benefits Compass provides you? So first of all, we give you a visibility into your entire inventory, all the contracts, the cost associated with them, and the dimensions of it. Secondly, we provide information about your enterprise commitment. We give you complete insights into the utilization aspect of it, whatever is available drawdown for it. Third aspect is we basically generate recommendations for savings, the opportunities. There are two aspects of it. First one is the system generated, which Flywheel recommends you. The other one is that you can actually model it out by yourself. And I just talked about earlier that you can actually leverage it for both shortfall and overage scenarios. So Compass steps in both scenarios for a finance or a FinOps practitioner. And the last bit is the reconciliation bit, which is the most crucial bit. Compass has you covered for that as well. The other side is procurement. So if you're a procurement leader, basically you get visibility into all your contracts, you get visibility into all your upcoming renewals. You can initiate those renewals directly through Compass via our purchase flow. We just talked about it. It's a very simple and easy mechanism for anybody to start a private offer through Compass. And the last bit is basically you get a very seamless and fast procurement experience, which is unlike anything in the market as of now. So yeah, that's what Compass does for you as a finance or a procurement practitioner.
It's no secret. We raised our capital just over a year ago. And after we had validation of what we were building, we actually were able to partner with design customers to build out Compass and test it out. And during that MLP stage, we were able to generate some real tangible results. Those results were, we were able to transact $10.5 million in just under 6 months. We were able to actually get recognition from AWS on it as well. We were able to identify $1.2 million in unused commits back to the buyers and advise them on what to do strategically on it. And then, of course, we reduced the FP&A reconciliation time down to 2 weeks. We were able to extrapolate that data, bring it back to the buyers, and they were able to pull it back into FP&A system. But the biggest thing that makes me so excited was we were able to demonstrate hardcore savings back to the buyers, and we're able to give them over $250,000 in rebates, cash back, that we were able to issue back within Flywheel credits.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? I think that deserves a little bit of applause, right? It's a great job on that. Absolutely. So bring us home.
Yeah. So we just talked about all the different aspects of Compass. It's truly a connected marketplace experience. The reason being that it connects to your procurement systems. It connects to your hyperscalers. It combines all the aspects of your renewal processes, your purchases, everything all together connected under a single platform, as well as the P&A integrations for reconciliation, your ITSM integration. So it's all just one-stop solution for everything related to the procurement and especially transacting through marketplace. I would just say that from your discovery to requisition till your renewal, Flywheel Compass is your one-stop solution for everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've done a great job, and I know we're going to continue to invest in this and make this ecosystem a lot more richer. You as a buyer simply continue to focus on your transformation journey, and all you need to know is that Flywheel is standing next to you to make your life simple intelligently.
Yep.
Where's Compass heading next?
Yeah, so we just talked about Compass. That's just one side of it. That's the buyer-facing application. The another side is basically seller-facing application, Beacon, which we'll talk about later. One thing that we realize is that there is a lack of education around all of it. We are introducing a lot of new terms by ourselves, as well as there is a lack of understanding in terms of marketplace and transacting through marketplace. So to just simplify all of this, which is actually the first foundational step that we took, was to create a Flywheel University. We'll talk about that as well. And we are also heading towards 100 plus millions in commitments.
That's right. Excellent job. Prajwal, incredible work. Keep up the great work and proud of you. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So you heard Prajwal talk about why Compass will continue to evolve and make the buyer journey even more incredible. Now, for the first time ever, we have not discussed this. Prajwal mentioned it briefly. I'm super excited to announce Beacon. And Beacon is our version of the seller experience built thanks to buyer inputs on how they would like to engage with sellers in a cloud marketplace world. And now I'd like to introduce Shashwat, our product leader for Beacon, who is maniacally focused on making the seller journey super simple. Please welcome Shashwat. Shashwat, how are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you, bud.
Same.
Great work on this. All right, let's get into it. So talk to us a little bit about the problem that existed on why we decided to take on the seller approach as well and introduce Beacon. I'm super excited about it because we've kept this under wraps, and you know me, I like to talk about all the things that we're building. So you guys had me keep this under wrap, but talk a little bit about what was the reason why Beacon became such an apparent solution.
Absolutely. So we call this problem the marketplace chaos. What is marketplace chaos? Basically, marketplaces were supposed to make selling software easier for ISVs. But for most ISVs, what they've actually done is they've made it more difficult. Each cloud marketplace has its own listing format, rules, and incentive structures. What this means that sellers are constantly doing duplicate work. They are maintaining separate catalogs, updating prices in multiple places, and chasing approvals just to do business, just to survive. The result is chaos, confusing, inconsistent listings that buyers can't trust and sellers can't control.
Man, talk about, it was crazy right before we got over here. I had a call with a marketing leader who's spent millions on managing her brand across her entire company. And she's recently started looking into the listings, and she's having a complete visceral reaction to how the products are represented and do not carry the branding over as well. So there's been a little bit of a disconnect from a marketing persona perspective as well.
Even when the buyer have the right product, Ankur, the next problem is the transactions. The transaction process is absolutely painful with manual reconciliation, inefficient incentive management, and long approval cycles. So in all of this chaos today, the sellers don't just want to sell, Ankur. They want to sell efficiently and they want to sell consistently across all the fragmented marketplaces. And that is the marketplace chaos problem for sellers.
So, Shashwat, talk about how we're solving this problem. Take center stage.
Thank you so much, Ankur. We asked ourselves the same question as well. We said, what if we could bring order to this chaos? And that's exactly what Beacon is. Beacon, it's an end-to-end control tower for sellers, built to bring order to all that chaos. We do this with first, FUID. As you just saw, sellers finally have a unique ID that connects their listings across every marketplace. With simpler catalog management, they can control and update product data from a single source of truth. With cross-cloud visibility, they can track how their listings perform and transact everywhere. And at last, with simpler incentives management, they can model and monitor deal incentives that actually drive transactions. Now, all of this sounds pretty good, but how does Beacon actually work? Well, here's how it works. We have already gone across the cloud marketplaces and the internet and built a repository of sellers and their product catalogs. So when a seller actually signs up on Beacon, they don't have to do the hard work. They don't have to start from scratch. They simply sign up, claim their profile, and get started. After that, they can update and expand their catalog and generate FUIDs for each of their products. This creates a single verified identity that stays consistent across marketplaces. From there, they get access to Flywheel's large base of enterprise buyers. They then can create targeted incentives for specific purchases or renewals using the buyer incentives that we give. Now, this is very, very powerful stuff. These incentives then drive higher transactions. Once the buyers initiate purchase or renewal through Compass, sellers can track the entire deal ecosystem in Beacon. You know the best part? They can do all of this for transactions happening directly with them or through any of the marketplaces, all in one place. That's what makes Beacon a true control tower for the seller ecosystem. In conclusion, for sellers, Beacon means control. Complete control over how they sell, where they sell, and what happens after they sell. They no longer need to manage multiple portals or reconcile mismatched data manually. They can see everything, listings, engagements, incentives, and transactions all in one place. It's faster listings, cleaner data, and more predictable conversions, all without all that manual effort. With Beacon, ISV finally get to focus on the important things: customers, customer satisfaction, product building, and actually growing their company and brand, not only on maintaining messy listings. And it's not just the sellers. The buyers benefit too. When sellers use Beacon, listings become more accurate, verified, and easy to buy from. Transactions are smoother, incentives are transparent, and discovery becomes simple and trustworthy. Buyers get to engage directly with the sellers who are active, responsive, and aligned on pricing and incentives. This is a very important point. Today in transaction, the communication process is very broken. It happens offline on emails, on phone calls, and there is no trace. Beacon solves for it. Because of all this, the deals move faster, renewals get easier, and confidence in marketplace purchases goes up. So that is Beacon. With that, I would like to call Ankur back on stage. Ankur?
Great job.
Thank you.
This is very exciting. And today, because of Beacon's existence, we now get to create a completely different unified experience for the sellers as well. So keep plugging away. And by the way, we're not done building. If you are a seller who is looking to optimize your cloud marketplace journey, or if you are a seller that's about to start your cloud marketplace journey, you cannot go down that path without engaging with us on Beacon. Thanks again, Shashwat. Really appreciate it. Great job. Keep up all the good work. So you heard about Compass, you heard about Beacon, and you heard about FUID. We realize that you, as buyers and sellers, still have a lot coming at you. You're going and experiencing 3 different hyperscaler or cloud marketplace journeys. By the way, you're also still maintaining your existing systems. And we realized that we had to create a unified experience, but also pair that with enablement for you. So today, I'm really excited to announce the launch of Flywheel University, which is available for buyers and sellers to start cloud marketplace journey and to really accelerate how they ingest this massive opportunity internally in their organization, become an advocate, and drive the change that now sits in front of them. To talk about why Flywheel University is creating a new standard, I'd like to bring on stage Alexa, who is leading our enablement for buyers and sellers through Flywheel University. Please welcome Alexa. All right, there she is. How are you?
I'm great.
This
Thank
is
you.
so exciting. Teaching
Absolutely.
people how to interpret cloud marketplaces and solving their lives, making it easier. That's very exciting.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, take it away and tell a little bit about why Flywheel University exists.
Every enterprise faces the same challenge. We know this. Millions of dollars committed to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, and yet value still goes unrealized. Sellers list, procurement pushes for speed. However, without enablement, alignment breaks. Why is that? Well, intent does not equal adoption. Teams are struggling to connect their enterprise commitments with FinOps best practices and to manage governance at scale. Tools alone don't create progress. Today, we're seeing buyers and sellers stuck in limbo, deals delayed, and commitments underutilized. This is the adoption gap, the space between potential and performance, the exact space Flywheel was built to close. And closing that gap starts with enablement. Introducing Flywheel University, the world's first learning hub for marketplace adoption at scale. Built for every persona between procurement teams, FinOps leaders, go-to-market, finance teams, and beyond. We are offering structured learning through self-paced courses, individualized learning pathways, webinars, community engagement, and certification opportunities. And for example, live right now is our Marketplace Fundamentals course to help you and your enterprise build marketplace literacy across all hyperscalers. Coming up is a new generation of learning for procurement leaders, alongside structured courses dedicated to our Compass platform and FUID. Each opportunity strengthens the ecosystem, a connected network of learning, sharing, and advancing together. Because when collaborative workflows click, standardization follows. Teams that learn how to buy and build through the marketplace accelerate procurement naturally. Flywheel University turns marketplace momentum into structure, anchoring industry-wide knowledge and best practices in one shared ecosystem. Through role-based certifications and guided onboarding, every persona learns to operate and govern at scale with clarity. This is where enablement becomes instinctive and progress becomes inevitable. And that's how Flywheel makes marketplace standards stick, by turning collaboration and community into the catalyst for industry evolution. Once marketplace standards take hold inside your organization, then together, we get to redefine the market. This isn't just training, it's transformation. We're at a pivotal moment in cloud procurement, an era evolving faster than most teams can adapt. And that is why Flywheel is the new standard for the future of cloud procurement. And Flywheel University is how you stay ahead of the game. Every lesson shared, every certification earned, every workflow aligned builds the rhythm of the modern cloud economy. As a former educator, one truth remains the same, both inside and outside the classroom. Knowledge drives systemic change only when shared. And Flywheel University is creating one shared language rooted in curiosity and the pursuit of making marketplace adoption accessible. Enablement is the spark, and collaboration fuels the momentum. Together, through Flywheel University, we will move this industry forward. And now I would like to invite back Ankur to the stage.
Great job. Flywheel University is so awesome. I mean, I've gone through the courses myself, and I can tell you that based on the way the courses have been laid out and the tracks that exist, I mean, it is a refresher that I really enjoyed going through, and I highly recommend that you do it. Alexa, thank you so much, and really appreciate the work that you're doing. Don't stop. If you want to be a part of that community, please go through Flywheel University. And by the way, we're looking for master speakers as well for our masterclass, so you can participate and collaborate with Alexa directly. Keep checking out our website for Flywheel University online courses that would be made available, webinars. Oh, and by the way, in-person workshops as well. All right, you heard a lot today about what the problem is, right? There's $1.3 trillion that are set to transact in the cloud. $467 billion are set to basically transact through the cloud marketplaces. To manage this entire opportunity that exists, I'm really excited to actually introduce a session with our investor, Arun Penmetsa from Storm Ventures, on discussing why this problem is so big and why is he backing up a company like Flywheel in really helping drive this change. So let's tune into that discussion. Hi, and welcome to this fireside chat with Arun Penmetsa with Storm Ventures. Arun is not only an investor in Flywheel, but a really successful and I would say a really humble investor in the Valley. And Arun, it's a privilege to be sitting down with you today to talk about how you've been an instrumental element in the Flywheel journey.
And thank you for having us on board. It's been a pleasure. Congrats on your launch event. And yeah, excited to talk about where this is going next. Part of this process is also just giving visibility into the buyers of how they're using marketplaces today. So, you've talked about this in other places, but buyers often have commits with the cloud vendors, but it's not as transparent today on how much of that commit they've used, how they can leverage the cloud marketplaces to really close that gap or even exceed it and get further discounts. So I think just starting there builds trust with the buyers because they can see how their existing commitments and purchases can really work. And beyond that, you add value by helping them transact. So I think there's multiple layers here where Flywheel adds value.
Yeah, it's another great point. When we started looking at the buyer journey, it was important to actually understand what were their current systems that they were having to engage into. We realized there was a lot of data chaos that we could talk a little bit about that existed when we started doing the initial matching. But we also found that 30 to 35% of the commits went underutilized.
Yeah.
Or they had made the commitment and then came in over the top and used marketplace and weren't able to realize the benefit of that value of marketplace on top of it. So they were literally leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
So, our journey was really to focus on that buyer
Yeah.
value and be able to extrapolate that.
And 35% is a staggering number. I mean, that's probably like, billions and billions of dollars just sitting out there, right? So it's a huge impact. One of the things that's exciting for Flywheel is you're building this very unique data set. And, putting AI aside, your ability to use Flywheel Universal ID as a way to capture this buyer and seller relationships and the product relationships that exist across all these vendors is very interesting because the same product can be listed on different marketplaces. It can be called by different names. It can have different descriptions. So if I'm a buyer looking to buy a product, I'm at loss because I don't know exactly which of these 30 names is the one I'm looking for. And really, there's no system or product today that normalizes this for them, right? And from a seller perspective, that's also a challenge because you've done all the hard work of listing all these marketplaces, but your buyers can't find you because there's just so much noise. So I think this is one of the first times where you're able to normalize that data and assign a unique sort of identifier to each of these products and SKUs. This is not just a procurement leader or a salesperson on the ISV side, right? This is touching finance and procurement and IT and go to market. So once this is established, I think entire companies, which is why I said earlier, I think this is a real viable go to market channel for companies, and it cuts across all the departments. So one of the things you guys did very early is kind of build out all these integrations. So the data is much easier to access. And as a result, the value is very quick in terms of providing it to your customers. I think everybody's starting to realize if this truly works as advertised, it's a huge efficiency and cost gain for them. And frankly, it just makes them more productive as a business. They can move much faster. They can work with vendors much faster. Their sales process much faster. So I think that's one of the things that's been exciting in the last few months is, it's just the caliber of customers and the frequency of transactions we're starting to see is a huge vote of confidence for Flywheel. As investors, one of the things we always think about is what's the wave you're investing behind, or what's the tailwind that will help this company succeed, right? So, and these mega trends like just what's happening with the infrastructure spend you're seeing with the cloud wave, the move to the cloud and all that, is really a tailwind for you, because if you believe there's a world where most of software will move to the cloud, then there has to be a platform that helps you buy and sell that software efficiently. And that's what Flywheel is.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the team.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing team of people standing next to me in the Flywheel journey. And we're really grateful for the buyers and the sellers that have partnered with us to really validate a lot of our hypotheses, validate our feature sets, and really move us beyond the MLP to, now this launch. Just to recap, today Flywheel has integrations into AWS, GCP, and Azure. We've done enterprise systems with Coupa and ServiceNow, and also now stand to integrate into various FP&A systems that are being highlighted by buyers like NetSuite and Workday. Pretty powerful stuff. We officially launched Beacon. We've kept Beacon under wraps, and we launched it. Why was the seller side important for us to build?
Yeah. Building that end-to-end journey is important, because ultimately you want to make sure the transaction goes through seamlessly. And I think there's also, like, as we discussed earlier, a natural network effect where the same buyers and sellers show up in different transactions, right? There's many permutations of this. You see a seller for a specific buyer, that seller may show up for a different buyer, and that seller may bring you to a different buyer. So you want both, in fact, both sides are your customers. So I think building that side out is important, because it's what ultimately scales the marketplace. And marketplaces typically are buyer constrained or seller constrained in some ways at different points in their life. And I think you've been very thoughtful of attacking each side separately to make sure that no party feels like we're on the platform, but there's no one on the other side for us to work with. So, and just by automating all of that, and finally, this is maybe an obvious thing to say, but every buyer is also a seller in most cases, and every seller is also a buyer. So it just is very natural to build both sides.
The rest of our chat, click on the link below. But now, let's tune back into our keynote. Thank you so much, Arun. We really appreciate how you're fueling this journey, not only from the resources that Storm Ventures is providing, the connections that you're making, but also the capital that's helping us grow. So thank you for that. Now, today, you heard a lot about what Flywheel is up to and how we're making cloud marketplaces intelligently simple. You heard about our journey with Compass. You heard about our journey with Beacon. You also heard about how we're governing that journey with FUID and how we're standing next to you to make your enablement super simple with Flywheel University. Here's one more thing that we'll bring to the table to sweeten this deal. Today, Flywheel is available to you at no cost. If we're going to be a value platform for you, the buyers and the sellers, we have to start from the beginning. So you get started with us at no cost, as long as you're willing to help us continue to build our platform, help us make the journey seamless for other buyers and sellers. And you can engage with us rapidly. To get started with Flywheel, there's absolutely no cost. The only thing you have to do is to reach out to us. And once you do, fly, we will. Thank you.